Hmm. Seems like you guys like my hardcore leveling warrior video. And I don't really blame you for that. It's just an amazing webtoon, and I don't really see anyone on YouTube talking about it. Or really any other webtoon. So if you guys want more webtoon videos, I would love to do something like that. Maybe even an unordinary video. I have an idea of what I want to do about that. Anyways, if you missed my last video on Hardcore Leveling Warrior, or don't read it, allow me to quickly explain what this webtoon is about. Hardcore Leveling Warrior takes place in a world where they've developed a game you can play in your sleep. A game I mistakenly called Lucid Dream in my last video on this subject, but it's actually called Lucid Adventure. We follow Ethan Gong, the Hardcore Leveling Warrior, and his team, Dark and Sora, and we get to see all their adventures in this virtual world. Lucid Adventure is a game that is filled with mystery. Even the gods of this game seem to be confused on the rules of this world. So that's what I want to do today. I'm going to talk about a few of the mysteries of Hardcore Leveling Warrior. And trust me, saying Hardcore Leveling Warrior every time I want to say this webtoon's name is a pain. Just as a little aside, we're on AE number 4 when I'm writing this, and I'm writing the night before 1 comes out. So there might be a chance these are wrong or get directly answered. So without further ado, let's get into some of these mysteries. The first 2 things I want to talk about are actually present in the first episode. The first thing is the exchange rate. You see, Lucid Adventure has a gold to real life money exchange system. And it's not too hard to pinpoint how much the exact rate is. Kart here says that the SS quest should be able to pay off his $20,000 debts. And he says that the 40 million gold should be able to pay it off exactly. So, with some simple math, we can see that the exchange rate here is that for every 2,000 gold, it's 1 real world dollar. Which may seem like a lot, but we don't really know how much gold you get from each fight. And for a little aside here, we see Sora with 1 million gold in this scene, which is about $500 in real world money. The next part about the first episode is when Hardcore Leveling Warrior dies at the very end. We see that Zero, this girl, steals his armor and says, "Oh, I heard that your stats go back to 1 when you die. Am I right?" And he acts all surprised, asking how did she know? And then he dies. But throughout the story, I assumed when someone dies, all their stats go back to 1. Since Hardcore Leveling Warrior makes a big deal about the fact when he dies again, he's gonna be actually killed by the people in the real world who he owes a lot of money to. He brings it up when fighting Keys the Thief, this bamboo spear guy over here, and even Heart Heater makes a big deal out of it when someone takes over his mind during the first round of the PvP tournaments. But that brings up the fact that both Sora and Dark have died in the story. And when they come back, they have their stats and items still with them. They don't go back to the start. Now, my first thought was, you have to have someone near you to revive. Kind of like, and I know it's a weird example, but the Fortnite cards. If you have someone to revive you, then your stats don't go back to 1. However, if that's the case, there shouldn't be a problem when he dies during the tournaments. So, it's clear that this is a thing that just happens to Ethan. But that brings up why. I have 2 reasons why that might happen. The first one is because of his character class. He's a gambler, right? And because of his character class, he can use the ability Bet. This is how Ethan actually becomes the strongest player in the game. The ability Bet means that during a duel, he can exchange things that normally can't be exchanged, like stats, items that are bound to the player, or even skills. It could be that since he's constantly betting his life during a fight, he'll lose a lot more when he does die. Does that make sense? Good, now throw it away, because it seems like there's a better explanation. In episode 17, we see that Keys is losing the fight, yelling that the game isn't fair, where Ethan exclaims, "This game was never fair to begin with. All attributes are given when you first create the character. And all my stats reset if I die, remember?" This is slowly turning into a dub of this webtoon. I'm fine with that. Anyways, with him saying that, it makes it seem like the attribute that was given to his character makes Ethan lose his stats when he dies. If you don't know what the attribute they're talking about, it's their personal attribute. It's kind of difficult to explain. Think of it like abilities in Pokemon, where it's a little thing that's added to them. Sometimes it could be an actual attack, sometimes it can be more just like a passive thing. That's not a great explanation to it, but you don't really need to 100% understand it. All you need to know is that Ethan's personal attribute is Lucky Man, which means that he's very lucky. Well, so what? Well, it's my personal opinion that him being lucky means that if he's ever unlucky and dies, he loses a lot more than normal players do. Either way could work, though. Speaking of personal attributes, Dark is seemingly the only one with a Transcendence personal attribute, which basically means it's super, super rare. And that's all we really know, because no one knows about it. So it's so rare that some people don't even know they exist. Anyways, his personal attribute is Time Spells, which just means he can use time spells. The two he uses are Deja Vu and Rewind. And Rewind is the one I want to talk about. It's a skill that lets him rewind the target to a previous state, with items and stats from the past. Which means that Dark can rewind Ethan back to when he was ranked number 3, and even cooler when he was ranked number 1. But the problem is that Dark can only rewind someone once per year. But the once per year is a once per game year. We see that in 7 hours of Lucid Dream is 1 hour in the real world. So, there are 8,760 hours in the real world. If we divide that by 7, we get that number. So if we divide that by 24, we get a little more than 52. And yeah, that makes sense. He doesn't use it until the last round of the PvP tournament. And that's more than 120 episodes later. So that happening 52 days later makes sense. Just a little aside, that epic 4-episode fight where Ethan gets rewinded back to when he was number 1 player, he apparently still gets EXP, and he got a lot too. To be fair, he does fight a level 99 player, level 92 player, a level 93 player, and a level 90 player. So how much XP do you think you would get after that fight? Well, seemingly it's enough to get him to level 30. You see, after the fight, and once stuff actually starts going down, Ethan says that the fight was enough to get him enough EXP to use a lucky coin. Now actually see when he unlocks this skill. When he's level 30, he unlocks that skill, so he gains 30 levels from that. The next 2 things I want to talk about, I don't have a full answer to, but I still want to share my theories and opinions on them. I'll talk about the one we know more about, God's Gift. So, for those who are confused, God's Gift is the main prize for entering the combat tournaments. We first hear about an amazing prize from Heart Heater, all the way back in episode 21. He says, "The combat tournament not only helps you level up, but also rewards you with great items. Sometimes it gives you an entire country as a reward." So we know whatever the prize is, it's a pretty dang amazing prize. We don't hear a lot about it, since it's kind of kept a secret. The next time we hear about it is at the end of the first part of the combat tournament, the preliminary rounds. We see some, I'll be frank, not important characters simply having a party and talking about what God's Gift can be. The 3 theories that are given is an item that can make you king, a god weapon, and a life changer that you can change a life with or you can sell and make bank. Finally, we see one more thing before actually seeing it for the first time. And that one last thing could be a warning. Let me explain. In episode 95, we hear from the God of Combat himself, how he designed the tournament and how the PvP round is the main thing, and if anyone messes with that round, he would punish them. Giga was one of these groups, as apparently they won by threatening and cheating a round. He was extremely mad, but he couldn't just kill them off. That would scare off everyone, and no one would want to play his tournaments anymore. So he made a warning not to do it. So that's all we actually hear about God's Gift, but we actually do get to see it again. In episode 168, right after the amazing fight between Ethan and Team Light, after Dark's grandpa dies, we see what God's Gift looks like. And I'll be honest, it kind of looks like a paperweight. Dark doesn't even take it. None of the guys were actually in it for the prize. Heart Heater takes it for Dark though, just holding on to it until he's done grieving. So what can it be? Well, I do think it's one of the theories that were presented. We can rule out a country because Darkland, the place where Dark rules during the AE in the last part of 176, is the end of the Northern Province. It is nameless up until the point where Dark renames it Darkland, which is a pretty dumb name. But Heart Heater takes it over. So I doubt it's a country because Darkland already is in this nameless province. We can also eliminate Life Changer, because he's still using black magic when we see him fighting. And we can also rule out a weapon, because getting a weapon that you can't use doesn't seem like a good idea. Which leads us to an item that can make you king. Which does make sense, because he's known as King Dark during the AE. And also as something that just came out today as I'm writing this, AE number 6 has a small little piece of important information. This AE is told through the Giga's clan point of view. One of the members explained that Dark's kingdom grew at a fearsome speed, so an item that makes him king? That could explain why his kingdom is as big as it is, and it grew at a fast speed. Finally, one question I don't really have a good answer for. Now, I really love all of these characters. One of my early favorite characters, however, was Heart Heater. A powerful loan shark, someone who is apparently so strong he can go toe-to-toe with Ethan back when he was #1 ranked player. He was apparently from a noble family that was in charge of the kingdom's finances, so him becoming a loan shark actually makes some sense. He's also a former Dragon Knight, and the only reason he's not anymore is because he completed the trial of the dragon and left all his power behind for a woman. Someone who we haven't seen, but someone we know is already dead. But something more interesting is his relationship to Dark. Dark is just a little kid. However, out of everyone, out of kings and dragons, Dark is the boss of Heart Heater. And it's quite confusing. Even Dark is confused by all of this. And all we get is, my history with you goes way back. And 2 panels of him bloodied and injured, with someone telling him, I hate wimps, as everything is on fire. Whatever this means is a mystery, really. Something I originally thought of was that person who said I hate wimps was Darkest, the creator of black magic, since that would tie in with him having a history with Dark, as Darkest and Dark are very similar, and Dark even played as Darkest when he first played this game. However, this theory was quickly disregarded because of how Heart Heater looks at Darkest when he first sees him out of the Godshah. He's more worried if Darkest is gonna kill all of them. It's not really the face of, oh, that's the guy I have a history with. So that theory is kind of busted, and I'm really out of ideas who it could be. It could be his grandpa, but I don't think it is because his grandpa doesn't seem to be that rude, I guess. Anyways, Hardcore Leveling Warrior has now become a Friday-only webtoon, which is a little sad, granted. But I'm fine, because it seems like our next episode will be the beginning of Season 2, which is going to be so hype. I'm so excited for what's to come. When I saw that episode 176 was only the end of the first chapter, I was so excited. So leave some of your theories or questions in the comments. And if you want me to do a video on another webtoon, just leave it in the comments. Like I said at the beginning, I have an idea for an unordinary video. So that'll be the next one to come out. Anyways, thank you all for watching.